In studio, I have with me Shoprite Chief Executive Whitey Basson. He's at the desk with me to give us an update and the analysis of the company's first half numbers, which were released this morning. Good to have you as always, sir. And a very insightful results presentation that you had this afternoon. And the interesting takeaway for me was that everyone raised concerns about Nigeria and Angola and other economies on the rest of the continent, but you're still very bullish.
Well, I was bullish with not too much knowledge, so I'm just not prepared to go negative with the sort of newspaper results that we get that vary from bankruptcy to economy that only has 14% of its GDP dependent on gold and on oil. So I can't really make the judgments. For us as a supermarket chain, we are bullish because it's quite a large economy that serves as supermarkets and people to eat.
And you're in there for the long term, quite clearly.
We are for sure in there for the long term, yeah.
The increased rollout in the stores, that CapEx spend, does it require more funding to be raised or from your cash flows?
No, we will probably do it all from our cash flows, but international supermarkets probably needs, if you have dollar leases, then you can have dollar loans and no risk of depreciation against your currency, and then obviously loans in dollars are substantially cheaper than loans in rands. So it's a question of how we balance that out.
I want to get your feeling for the taste of Nigerians. It seems as though they like their Guinness, what's it called, a draft, not a draft rather, but the dry stout. Yes, you sold 60 times more there in 11 stores than what you did in more than 100 stores here in South Africa. And this is a common theme because a few years back you sold more Moët champagnes there. Are Nigerians or West African communities people of a particular taste, and clearly you're catering to it?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing there is that there are in most of the cities only one supermarket, and that's a Shoprite. Where in South Africa you have a lot of other people selling liquor and selling beers, etc. So it's just a doubling up of numbers. Nigeria is a country with 150 million people, so they should drink more than the million we have in Namibia.
Exactly. Taking a look at the local environment here, USave is the baby that you want to grow and expand, but sites are a problem. What's unique about the stores there? Smaller size and really lower when it comes to the managing the margins there.
Well, USave is a typical Aldi Lidl of Europe, which is giving the big supermarkets such a run for their money in the European situation, and it runs with about 1,000 to 1,400 products in total, which is the base products, which accounts for 90% of your 85% of your basket. And obviously it's much cheaper to run, so we can afford to drop the margins by, well, gross margins at about 9% cheaper than lower than in South Africa, which means that you're paying 9% less for your foodstuffs in a USave to what you would pay in any other supermarket.
Let's touch on inflation, which is also something else raised earlier on today. Many people expecting that you will get a significant relief in that drop in the oil price and inflationary pressures in South Africa. Is this short-lived?
I'm not quite sure, because if you look at the price of corn and maize and stuff like that, which is dollar-based, and you have a very weak rand, then I'm not sure what the extent is that it will filter through. There's definitely, however, a saving for people that deliver by car, truck, whatever it is, public transport, etc. And obviously there are some commodities which are manufactured with a lot of oil either inside themselves or burners that uses oil, and that should be passed on, not because I just feel like that. It's a situation that whatever flame we can get that brings inflation down and brings the cost of production or the cost of transport down should be reinvested in a country like South Africa to get the jobs up, which is the most critical portion of whatever budget you want to produce or whatever lifestyle you want to think of, because there's just too many people without jobs that won't like it over a 10-year period.
Eskom, you're spending quite a bit of money to bypass the load shedding crisis.
Yeah, Eskom is a problem for us in the sense that I think we were covered in the sense that we have just, well, in the last week we spent 160 million rands on generators, but if you take the numbers, we saved something like we saved something like 4 million in our trucks in the month of December on fuel savings, but we spent 8 million rands on diesel to run the generators, so that's not too smart. Then we'd go from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. I'm very worried that we will get to a total blackout situation, and that supermarkets will probably survive for a couple of days or weeks maybe, But our biggest problem would probably be food security, and that farmers won't be able to survive. And if you get to that stage, then we really have a problem in South Africa, that if food shortages are come up at that level, then you can have riots.
As an anchor tenant at many shopping malls across the country, are you then speaking to property developers to provide alternative sources of power?
It's very difficult because generators, as you see, diesel generators are not designed to run 24/7. They are designed to run for 3 hours, 4 hours, etc. You just burn them out within 3 months. So it's not really an alternative unless we can get wind generation or coal or sunshine that has a long-term sort of benefit, and you can put them in a national grid. That would be different. We are always looking at the fact that, say, listen, aren't we prepared to pay more for our electricity and not less, but at least be sure that we have electricity. So can we build a power station from coal or from wind, put it into the grid, and make sure that we have more expensive electricity, but at least that we don't get into these areas which I think very few people have thought about. If you have a total blackout, it'll probably take you 3 months to get back onto track.
Sure. Just to close off with very quickly, tomorrow is the budget speech by the Finance Minister. We saw growth figures coming in for the last quarter of last year coming in at 4.1%. What would you like Minister Nene to say that would please you?
I've had that question. I can't. I think the Minister's got a very difficult job. He has to balance between increase in VAT. That would be his easiest portion to do. He has this terrible thing hanging over his head. Do you tax the rich and do you tax people for investing in South Africa? Because long term that would have effect. So my easiest comment to him to be is to say that people whose surname starts with a B pays no taxes for the next year.
Easy way out, I see, Mr. Basson. Thank you so much for your time today. A pleasure
Thank
speaking
you.
to you as always. That was Shoprite Chief Executive Whitey Basson.
Thank you very much.